Welcome to my talk. I will present you a FIBSEM protocol for high-resolution imaging of hydrated cement-based materials in combination with EDX analysis, and the goal was to minimize the specimen damage during observation. What is FIBSEM? We have an ion beam and an electron beam in our SEM. They are under an angle of 52 degrees, and we have the ability to deposit a protective platin coating on our region of interest, and then we can remove some trenches around our region of interest. And the red area will be observed later by the electron beam, and the region of interest will then be sliced in 10 nanometer slices using our ion beam, and afterwards we have a stack of images, and this image stack will then be used to reconstruct a 3D volume as shown here, and this 3D volume can then be used to further analyze the dataset, for example the porosity. There are some well-known artifacts if we are doing it this way. First of all, we have a shadowing effect, so within the trench the specimen becomes darker, and this is also true for EDX. However, in BSE mode we can kind of recover the information a little bit, since there is enough signal to noise ratio, and in the EDX we have so little signal that this is not possible usually, so we have to crop our specimen significantly. Furthermore, we have charging effects and redeposition effects is shown in the other images, and sometimes we even can observe some drifting if we are not choosing the right imaging parameters. One solution to limit these artifacts is the lift out, as done usually for TEM lamellas. As you can see here in the background is a copper comb, and B, the blue one, is the needle with which we manipulate our specimen in green, A, and D is the needle for the platinum vapor deposition system, which allows us to weld the cube to the copper comb. And as you can see, the shadowing is significantly reduced, and we also have no more charging effects and drifting. And furthermore, the redeposition can only occur on the sides of the specimens or on the copper comb, where it doesn't really matter for the imaging. And there's a second issue. Our specimen contains a lot of water, which makes it sensible to heat, as the reaction equation on the top to form that material shows. And we call it CSH in cement chemist notation. That material really starts to deform under very low voltages and currents under the electron beam, and that we kind of want to avoid, especially if we want to use EDX. Here we can see an EDX mapping of one slice, and if we choose the wrong parameters, especially along dwell time, we start to introduce damages in our specimen. As you can see here, there are pores visible which are actually not existing in our specimen. Why do we need the EDX at all? As you can see, the CSH and the CH, which is portlandite, calcium hydroxide, they are really badly to distinguish in the BSE mode. So they have the same gray value, so we really need EDX to identify our phases. This shows that we need a balance between specimen stability, element sensitivity, and signal intensity. So we have to set the voltage to about 10 kV to get enough signal from calcium, silicon, aluminium, or iron. And furthermore, we are using a highly sensitive EDX detector as shown on the right image. We have two in our SEM. We have an XMAX-N and an extreme detector. The extreme detector is windowless in contrast to the XMAX-N. And as you can see, we have 5 to 10 times more counts per second, which really helps. And yeah, this allows us to reduce the dwell time to about 10 microseconds at 10 frames per slice. We can increase the frame count. The only limit is the available machine time. The post-processing must be able to handle low-count EDX datasets, and I will show you shortly how we are doing it. At first we have to denoise our specimens. Here you can see the aluminium mapping, and as you can see, block matching 3D kind of works to denoise it. However, we are only using it to apply our automatic segmentation algorithms. Then we have to align our dataset, our slices. At first we apply a sift. As you can already see, it's less jagged. However, there's still a shift in our dataset, as you can see, and this shift will be corrected manually by applying a shift of about 30 to 40 degrees, and we tested degree by degree which one is fitting the best. Now we have a aligned stack, and this allows us to also align the EDX dataset manually. And finally, we segment our specimen using superpixels. In this case, we use a variation of SLICO, which allows us to omit one parameter called compactness, and the result looks like this. And this allows us to analyze the element distribution and identify phases manually or by using clustering algorithms. And we had promising results using UMAP and k-means, and other clustering algorithms also work. And finally, we can remap the results in our volume, as shown here. This is the aluminium EDX mapping, which shows a lot of different phases actually. And this is the unhydrated clinker, quartz, AFM phase, portlandite, so calcium hydroxide, and the main hydrate phase, CSH. So the cube lift out avoids artifacts. However, it's time consuming. It takes about 5 hours to prepare and lift out the specimen. However, it really helps to avoid shadowing. The low energy imaging parameters are key to image the hydrated cement without new artifacts, so close to nature. And modern EDX detectors really help to do that for element analysis. And the post-processing techniques shown really make those even low-count datasets usable. We made some instruction videos which are available at Refodat or on YouTube. The instructions were made using a Thermo Fisher SEM and EDX detectors made by Oxford, so maybe you can get some information for your devices. If not, then just comment under the videos. Finally, I found some magic tricks while training the lift-out process, for example, the bending needle and the disappearing cube magic trick. However, I would not recommend copying those magic tricks since they really cost a lot of machine time. And with this artistic interpretation of reconstructed CSH phases, I would like to thank you for your attention.